Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Friday, the 24th of November. Good to have you aboard. Part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented, as always, by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. You're involved in any kind of an accident, I send you to Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, where they put their skills to work for you and get you the compensation you deserve. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. A happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I told you we weren't going to do the show on Thanksgiving, but we're right back here on Friday. We got a great sports day locally. Dolphins this afternoon. Hell, by the time you're listening to today, you may know that the Dolphins won this game in blowout fashion. I don't know. You're in the future. I'm in the present right now. So you know some things that I don't. But you got the Dolphins this afternoon. You got the Heat tonight. You got the Panthers tonight. This is a big-time Black Friday. So I'm glad you're spending it here with us. And of course, with the holiday season off and rolling, NFL's in full stride. NBA, NHL action. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info. Up to the minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, predictions. Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. And not just the big four. Bet Online has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer, a whole lot more. Head to the Bet Online today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We did it here yesterday in my house in the ZASLOW mansion. We had the family over. Not big. It was in total, it was, let me count. Yeah, just 8 of us. Not big, just 8 of us. So, small little deal. We got great leftovers. Very pleased with that. And like I said, today, just so many good sports going on. Yesterday, the 3 NFL games. I mean, fucking duds. Just not a good sports day yesterday. But that's okay, because the main event is this afternoon with the Dolphins. And I gotta tell you, like I already mentioned this earlier in the week, when I kind of realized it, which is such a bad job out of me. Because you guys know, I'm on top of this kind of stuff. I'm the ticket ninja. Everybody knows that. And for me, not to realize that. Now look, last year, my son and I, we were in New York for the Dolphins opener. But we weren't there for the opener. We were there to see Pearl Jam. But it was the same weekend as the Dolphins opener. And we wanted to go watch at the Dolphins bar in New York City. Slattery's. I mean, what a great time. That's the official Dolphins bar there in New York City. It was such a great time. But they also mentioned, the guys who run that group, they're like, you got to come up for the Dolphins MetLife takeover one time. And I would like to do that. Today would have been the day to do that. And I'm annoyed that I didn't think about it. Now, I've told you in the past where I'm hesitant to make a trip out of going to see your favorite sports team because, man, that can backfire. It's why I love traveling for concerts, Pearl Jam. It's always going to be a great time. I love traveling for WWE. It's always going to be a great time. But if you go travel to see your sports team, especially if it's high stakes, it's one way or the other. It can either be amazing or it can be really shitty. And it's like, I was walking out of the Dolphins game last week with my buddy. We went to the Dolphins and Raiders. And there's so many Raider fans. And it's a great time of year. You come down to South Florida and go see the Raiders play if they're your favorite team. But I'm not on that, I'm not on that bandwagon because you spend all the money, the plane, the tickets, the hotel, and then your team loses like the Raiders did at the end of the game. Like Dolphins hung on, interception at the end by Jalen Ramsey. He's fucking awesome. And the Dolphins win the game. And it's like, you still had a good time? Like, oh, the experience, it was so much fun. That didn't seem so fun to me. Like, when I'm walking out of the stadium there, and if my team lost and they lose at the very end, and I spent all that money, it's not that much fun to me, but I do want to go to one of the MetLife takeovers. I think it'd be a really fun experience. And today, this year is seemingly the year to do it because you got the Dolphins at 3 o'clock today. And then, game's over by 6-ish. And you got 90 minutes to get back into the city for Heat Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And if it's not enough that it's, it's just a Heat regular season game, well, it's an in-season tournament game. So it's got some extra juice to it. And especially because if the Heat win the game today, then next week the Heat are hosting Milwaukee in the 4th and final in-season tournament game, which will be likely to win the group and advance to the quarterfinals and advance to hosting a home game in the quarterfinals of the NBA in-season tournament. So tonight at New York has got juice to it. Like today would have been the day to do. How did I not think about that? Going to New York, MetLife takeover this afternoon, and then going to Madison Square Garden to watch the Heat take that ass tonight against the Knicks. If you're one of the ZASLOW Show 2.0 listeners and you're making that trip, you're doing that double dip, maybe you just live in New York, whatever, and you're doing the double dip there, Dolphins at Jets, then Heat at Knicks, I'm so jealous of you. So jealous. Why didn't I think of doing that today? So I'm a little I gotta be honest, I'm a little disappointed in myself for not thinking about that. But anyway, that's what we got on tap today. It's a very big local sports day. And then you got the Panthers tonight. So again, hope everyone had a really nice Thanksgiving. I hope you're not distracted. If you're watching right now on YouTube, which, I drive all you guys to the podcast. The podcast is what's most important. But sometimes you guys like to watch on the YouTube or by the way, please put your notifications on if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you got to subscribe. But if you're subscribed, you got to make sure you have the notifications on, especially when it's still real to me. That's my wrestling podcast. We've been doing live streams of that, and I want to make sure you guys are getting the notifications and you're listening. But my point is, if you're watching on the YouTube or just, the promo clips that I put out on social media, and you see here, I got a big, not a scar, but a big wound there on the top of my forehead. I hope that is not distracting everybody from this punum because I had a little bit of an operation. And yeah, so it's a little bit ugly right there. It's a wound, and it'll be better hopefully in a few days. But I hope I'm not distracting everybody from this punum right here. So again, hope you had a great holiday. I'm honored that you're still listening today. It's a holiday week. You're probably not working, and you're still managing to fit in ZASLOW Show 2.0 into your routine. So I appreciate that. A couple nights ago, Panthers lost to the Bruins. They didn't get enough opportunities. Bruins were much better than that. We had Sasha Barkov back. Hopefully he's back this weekend. Maybe he's back tonight. I'm not sure. And the Heat kicked the shit out of Cleveland. They won by 33 on Wednesday night. No Bam Adebayo either. Heat are really good. I understand Cleveland was out Donovan Mitchell, and they were also on the second night of a back-to-back. Well, good. So the Heat took advantage. They won by 33. Kicked their ass. But again, today, very big sports day. So, got some fun stuff. Now, normally, our pal Jamie Eisenberg, CBS Sports Fantasy Football, he joins us on Thursdays. He's going to join us today. We're going to get a quick rundown, start, sit, fantasy football, all that stuff, because we got a ton of action this weekend, obviously. So he's kind enough to make some time for us today since we missed yesterday because of the holiday. Now, if you caught the games, terrible games yesterday. Green Bay wins 29-22 over Detroit. Detroit scored a late touchdown there, put a little makeup on a pig. That game was not close. Dallas wins 45-10 over Washington. Terrible game. And San Francisco wins. I thought Seattle was going to be a lot more competitive, but it would appear that San Francisco is back here because San Francisco, after 5-0, loses 3 straight. Now they've won 3 straight. So San Francisco, 31-13 over Seattle. They're now 8-3. So as a result of the Detroit loss, the Dallas win, the San Francisco win, here's what we're looking at in the NFC as far as the playoff picture goes. Philadelphia now has some breathing room with the Detroit loss, 9-1, number 1 spot. San Francisco, because of their win and Detroit loss, jumps up to 2 while Detroit drops to 3. Both teams are 8-3. Dallas still sitting at the top wildcard spot, number 5 at 8-3. And because the Seattle lost, they dropped to 6-5 and dropped down to the 7th spot, while Minnesota moves up to the 6th spot at 6-5. And because Green Bay got that win and they've won 3 of their last 4 now, actually, they're 5-6 and just 1 game back of the final 2 wild card spots there. So for all the talk about Jordan Love not being the guy, they've won 3 out of 4 now. He looks really good yesterday, and he's in a spot where he may be able to lead Green Bay to a playoff berth this year. That would be a major turnaround for Jordan Love. So that's some of the movement in the NFC playoff picture, and the AFC playoff picture will get some movement today as well. If the Dolphins win, they would move into a first-place tie with Baltimore at 8-3. We know those teams are going to meet in Week 17. And if you want for, tie-breaking purposes, at least until all the games take place this Sunday with the other teams, playing their Week 12 games, if the Dolphins win today, the temporary tiebreak, because they won't have played head-to-head yet, will be conference record. The Dolphins, if they win today, will move to 6-2 in conference, while the Ravens are 5-3 in conference. So if the Dolphins win today, temporarily, at least until what happens on Sunday, the Dolphins will be number 1 in the AFC. How about that? At least for a couple days. If the Dolphins win today, they will be first place overall in the AFC. Now, as far as teams like Kansas City and Jacksonville this weekend, Kansas City is at Las Vegas. Kansas City's a 9-point favorite. I don't think that's a gimme. I think it's way too many points. I'm not a big believer in Kansas City this year. So Kansas City is at Las Vegas, and Jacksonville, it looks like Jacksonville's at Houston. Also not a gimme. So, yeah, the Dolphins could wind up getting a little bit of help with those other teams they're tied with, but at least temporarily, at least for a couple of days, if the Dolphins do what they're supposed to do, and that's beat the shit out of the Jets this afternoon, then the Dolphins will be in first place. They will own the current tiebreaker over Baltimore in the AFC. I'm very into this game today. By the way, it's Friday. So, yeah, we're talking about the Dolphins here. No spoilers, but we do have big game, not a big game coming up. All right, I'll let you know. This game always feels like a special game in New York. Now, today's Black Friday, first ever Black Friday NFL game. It's on Prime, locally CBS, over-the-air broadcast. But this game always feels like a special game. The game in New York, where, you got the Monday Night Massacre and Jumbo Elliott. That night sucks. But you got great memories like Marino and the fake spike, or back in, 2008, final game of the year for the division, Brett Favre's last game with the Jets and with the Bretts. And the Dolphins kicked the shit out of the Jets there and win the division. That was the last time the Dolphins won the division. They finished that year 11-5. There are lots of big moments, Dolphins at Jets. And even today it feels big because it feels like we get to crush this Jets team and crush their season. And I'll be honest, while Tim Boyle is a nobody at quarterback, I'm a little disappointed that we're not getting Zach Wilson. I wanted the Dolphins to pound Zach Wilson. I was looking forward a couple weeks leading into this game. Let's just get after this kid. He sucks. Now, Tim Boyle, again, I think he's 0-3 as a starter in the NFL. He's got more interceptions than touchdowns. He's a nothing at quarterback. I wanted the Zach Wilson storyline. I wanted the Dolphins to have their shot at Zach Wilson. So this game feels like a big game. I was a little bit annoyed yesterday. You guys know that. You can follow me always on Twitter at ZASLOW SHOW. So the Lions lost yesterday. Lions got their ass kicked at home to the Packers. I better not hear anybody say the Lions are a fraud. Has anyone said they're a fraud? No, you can't do that, because if you're the Lions, it's okay to lose at home to a team that's under 500. That's okay. That's why you don't hear anybody talking about the Lions as a fraud. The Dolphins win today. They got the same record as the Lions. But nobody's talking about the Lions being a fraud because it's okay to lose at home to a team that's under 500. What's not okay is if you're called the Dolphins and you lose on the road. If you lose on the road at teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, that makes you a fraud. When you lose at home to under 500 teams like the Packers, that's okay. There's no fraud label. But when you lose on the road against the Chiefs, when you lose on the road against the Eagles, That makes you a fraud. Okay, got it. So that's what it is. I better not hear anybody talking about the Lions as a fraud. And here's why it's so stupid. Okay, but ZASLOW, the Dolphins haven't done anything in forever. The fucking Detroit Lions have done something? One of the worst franchises in the history of sports. They haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. One of the worst franchises in all of sports. They lose at home to the Packers. Has a single person uttered the words fraud about the Detroit Lions? Is there a franchise in sports that you trust less than the Detroit Lions? A pathetic franchise? Nobody's calling them a fraud. No. Only if you're the Dolphins and you lose on the road to Kansas City and to Philadelphia. That's what makes you a fraud. And that's why that's why the Miami sports fan, sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's not, but that's why the Miami sports fan feels that they're being picked on and have this persecution complex. Because nobody is talking about Detroit like that. And it's bullshit. So I get it. Look, I'll almost always defend the Miami sports fan. And I definitely have to do it in that spot because it's pretty easy to see it is not fair. But as far as this afternoon goes, I'm most excited about this defense this afternoon. I know how good the Dolphin offense is. And yes, the Jets defense is still great, even though they gave up 32 points last week to Buffalo. I know how good this Dolphin offense is. Even if they haven't over the last 2 weeks looked like what they looked like at the beginning of the year. I mean, 17 points Philadelphia, 14 points against Kansas City. Last week, 21 points against Vegas. I know how good this Dolphin offense is. And it would be great if Tua, who has not been great on the road, can have a big offensive day, and especially have a big offensive day against a good defense in New York. But either way, I know how good this Dolphin offense is. I like watching this defense come together. I like what I'm seeing on that defensive line. Sealer, Wilkins. I like what I'm seeing with the linebackers, Chubb and Phillips, Jerome Baker. I like what I'm seeing with the pass rushers. I mentioned a couple of them there. And just seeing Ramsey and Holland and Howard continue to work together. This defense has become the most interesting part about this Dolphin team. And so today, I'm interested in this defense getting after Tim Boyle, causing some turnovers. The Dolphins' turnover ratio this year is not good. Got to start flipping that thing the other way. So I know how good the Dolphin offense is, no matter how they performed recently and no matter how they perform today. I find the defense to be so much more interesting right now, and I'm expecting a big performance from the Dolphin defense today. So, 3 o'clock, you may have already, look, I don't know when you're listening to this. You may already know the Dolphins won this game 30-0. I'm not aware of that information yet. I don't have that info yet, but that's where we are. All right, I got some NBA for you here today. Few things happened in the NBA on Wednesday that I gotta get after. But first, it is Friday. And I know you guys are probably saying to yourself, ZASLOW, I gotta know. Is it a big game? Or is it not a big game? Big game or not a big game? Every Friday, you know how we do. And big game or not a big game is always brought to us by Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. From Pensacola to the Keys and beyond, Brunt Insurance delivers you that comprehensive coverage at a most affordable rate that you've been looking for. Look, since 2013, they specialize in home, auto, boaters, motorcycle, life insurance. That's why I've been getting my homeowners insurance from Brunt Insurance for 10 years now. Call 954-589-2204 or go to bruntinsurance.com. And wherever you're calling from in the state of Florida, they know your area. They got offices all throughout the state. If you're looking for affordable care that offers the best coverage, I told you, I get my homeowners insurance from Brunt Insurance, but automobile, motorcycle, boaters insurance, 954-589-2204. You're making the right call because the team at Brunt has the expertise and experience to find the perfect coverage for you. That also includes comprehensive policies for both trailers and motorhomes. So when it comes to all your options out there, there are so many you can make your head spin. Don't worry. They specialize in making the confusing crystal clear. 954-589-2204, bruntinsurance.com. Let's get to big game or not a big game. Big game or not a big game. Hey, this is coming up real soon. today at noon, ABC. That's the American Broadcasting Company. I mean, I didn't even add this into the great sports day we have here locally. The Miami Hurricanes, final regular season game. Can they get that 7th win of the year? They are at Boston College. This has been a very frustrating year for the Hurricane fan. It has not been what you were hoping for. A lot of criticism with Mario Cristobal. The team is only 2-5 in the ACC, so at best, they're only going to get 3 ACC wins. Boston College, they're 3-4 in the ACC. Both teams looking for their 7th win overall. So Miami Hurricanes, can they end the season on a good note before a bowl game? Hurricanes at Boston College? Not a big game. It's not big. I wish it was, but it's not. It's not a big game. Today, 3 p.m., prime, Miami Dolphins at New York Jets. I already told you, lots of big moments between these two teams, especially they're in Jersey. That's right. How stupid are the New York Jets? They play in New Jersey. The Dolphins, a win today would put them in first place, at least for the next couple days, would put them in first place in the AFC. I mean, if we're doing big deal, not a big deal, that's a big deal. Can Tua come up with a big road performance and against a really good defense? Dolphins at Jets. That's a big game. You know it. MetLife TakeOver. Tonight, 7:30. ESPN. Miami Heat at New York Knicks. Now, this is an in-season tournament game, all right? That means if the Heat win this game, they go to 3-0 in group play. The Knicks would drop to 1-2, essentially drop out of the situation, and the Heat can set up a game against Milwaukee at home next week to win the group. Plus, it's the stupid Knicks, but this isn't your grandfather's stupid Knicks. The stupid Knicks are much better than they've been in previous years. They're off to a really good start this season. The New York Knicks, they are 8-6, really good, but like good. They're 8-6. The Heat, though, 10-5. How about all that conversation about how great the Sixers are? They're 10-5 now also. We got a 4-way tie for 2nd through 5th in the East right now at 10-5. The Miami Heat, they're alongside Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and how about the Orlando Magic? That's right. Tonight, the Heat at the Knicks, national TV. That's a big game. You know it. All right. Everybody settle down. Tonight, 8 p.m., Bally Sports, Florida. The Winnipeg Jets at your Florida Panthers. We're getting great crowds at Amerant Bank Arena. The Panthers are coming off a loss on Wednesday night. Does Sasha Barkov return tonight? I don't know. I can't predict the future. Most importantly, the Panthers, you don't want back-to-back losses. You got to avoid that. The Panthers, just their 2nd loss at home this year, the other night to Boston. They're 7-2-0 at home, 12-6-1 overall, 2nd in the Atlantic. But Winnipeg, right now, is 3rd in the Central. They're 11-5-2, so they're off to a really nice start this season. The Dolphins are facing the Jets. The Panthers are facing the Jets. Tonight, Jets at Panthers, that's a big game. Know it. All right. We're not done yet. Everybody buckle up. Saturday, 6 p.m., Bally Sports Sun. Your Miami Heat play the 2nd night of a back-to-back at the Brooklyn Nets. I would imagine Bam Adebayo returns tonight. He is listed as questionable. But I would also guess that Kyle Lowry doesn't play tomorrow because I don't think they're playing Lowry in back-to-backs. And by the way, I got to be fair. Lowry, 28 points the other night. I mean, thank you, baby Jesus. 28 points for Kyle Lowry, including 5 for 5 from 3 to start the game in the first quarter. But tomorrow, can the Heat sweep the 2 games in New York? Heat at Nets? That's a big game. Saturday, 7 p.m., ESPN. Number 5, Florida State at the Florida Gators. Now, this is the first game without Jordan Travis. His season's over. His career at FSU is over. So a lot of eyes, especially when it comes to the committee and how they're going to rank Florida State when it comes to the college football playoff. We're going to get a look at what they look like without Jordan Travis at the Gators tomorrow. For the Gators, Can they be the ones that ruin Florida State's undefeated season? So come on, what are we talking about here? Number 5 Florida State at Florida Gators. That's a big game. And finally, I got one more for you ass here. Saturday, 8 p.m., Peacock, WWE Survivor Series. That's right. The second longest tenured pay-per-view in WWE history. WWE Survivor Series, a Thanksgiving tradition. The first couple years Survivor Series was on Thanksgiving night. One of the big 4 pay-per-views. And this year, it's War Games. You have a men's War Games match and a women's War Games match. It's looking like we're going to get the return of Randy Orton. What's going to happen with Bayley and Damage Control? I'm very into this show tomorrow night. Survivor Series got a ton of juice to it. WWE Survivor Series on the cock. That's a big game. And that right there is another edition of Big Game or Not a Big Game. Yes. All right. Brought to us, of course, by Brunt Insurance, 954-589-2204, bruntinsurance.com. I should also mention, with Survivor Series being tomorrow, you know when we do our episode this weekend of It's Still Real to Me, it's live stream, so make sure you got your notifications on the YouTube channel. We'll be doing a Survivor Series recap show. And of course, one of our great sponsors of It's Still Real to Me is Matthew H. Maschler and Signature Real Estate Finder. If you're thinking about getting a new home, you call Matthew H. Maschler, Signature Real Estate Finder, 561-208-3334, or go to realestatefinder.com. Huge pro wrestling fan, Matthew Maschler. See him in the front row. He's wearing the suit and all the big WWE shows. Also, Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, BRCW, one of the founders and promoters for BRCW. Support local indie wrestling. But if you're thinking about getting that dream home in beautiful South Florida, look no further than Matthew H. Maschler, your trusted real estate broker. Over a decade of experience, Matthew specializes in luxury homes. He is a certified luxury home marketing specialist. So if you're looking for that new home, or maybe you're trying to sell your current home, Matthew H. Maschler, 561-208-3334. If you're in the real estate business and you're looking to take that next step, you're looking to take your real estate career to the next level, you could join the Signature team. Signature Real Estate Companies are South Florida's industry leaders, ranked #1 in Boca, one of the tops in all of Florida. Offices all throughout the state. Delray, Coral Springs, Palm Beach, Miami, Naples, Orlando. The Signature team is where you want to be. So whether you're buying your dream home, you're selling your property, you're looking to join the best in the business, contact Matthew H. Maschler today. 561-208-3334, realestatefinder.com. Your pathway to exceptional real estate experiences, Matthew H. Maschler.